and I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So today we're talking about 21st century tools for teaching, and it's going to be a very hands-on workshop. So, plan to take some notes and try some things, because when you leave here today, I hope that you'll have formulated some ideas for incorporating these tools into your online or your face-to-face classes. So these are the learning objectives. When you leave today, you'll have discussed the benefits of using 21st century tools, described what makes a 21st century tool, reviewed tools that IT has vetted and the process for getting new tools vetted. David knows that very well, don't you, David?
Yes.
And discussed ways to implement 21st century tools into instruction, and then designed and planned a project for one of your courses using a 21st century tool. That's the goal for today.
Cool.
All right, so this workshop is about tools, but tools are used to build something. And in this case, what we want to build are the 21st century skills our learners need in order to be successful in college and beyond. So we can teach our students to use the technology, but they need to know how to use these tools to impact their future. They need authentic experiences. And this quote highlights the importance of making these tools a natural part of the student's educational experience. I'll give you a second to read that. It's a bit long. All right, so while this may seem like an extra step or an additional drain on what I know to be your limited time and resources, including these tools into your existing curriculum can reap benefits both for you and for your students. The tools can help you transform the student experience from a passive one to an active one, and students are going to retain more of what they're learning if they're actively involved in the learning process. It also helps students take ownership of their own learning. They help you develop authenticity to the learning process, because students can design projects for the world beyond the classroom. They can create projects that are useful more than just for a grade. Collaboration and teamwork are also important skills because of our global economy, and these tools can help them foster these skills and manage projects and teams. So what are some of the examples of 21st century tools? I'm sure, David, you've heard some of these, but with these tools, students become content creators rather than just consumers. So you can use tools like YouTube. Everybody uses YouTube, not only for videos that the students can watch, but for videos that the students can create and share. There's an app called Explain Everything, which is a digital whiteboard tool that students can use to create demonstration recordings. So you can have them solve a problem or create a demonstration of something related to your curriculum and record it and then present it to the class. Adobe Spark is a free tool from Adobe that allows your students to publish digital stories, videos, memes. How many of you see all the memes everywhere?
Amazing.
Yeah. Motivational posters and other content. Powtoon is an awesome tool that lets students create their own comic style animated videos that can be narrated and shared. Padlet, David, I'm sure you've seen that at some of the conferences we attend. Padlet is an idea sharing collaborative platform where students can create a bulletin board of ideas and comment on each other's posts. Google SketchUp. It's actually not Google SketchUp anymore. It's now Trimble SketchUp. But anyway, Trimble SketchUp is a 3D modeling tool that students can use to design and share their models. This is useful not only for something like architecture, but David, you could have the students design and model a heart or an eye, and talk about how it works and what all the parts are. That you can do things like cutaways. So they can look inside and see where all the parts are. You could have students model a set from a book that they're reading, a moment in history. Different things like that can be modeled. with your marketing class, Scott, I imagine you could have them model the product that they're planning to market.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be a good way for you to use it in your class.
Yeah.
Minecraft is also a building type environment, and it has free educational edition that brings game-based learning into the classroom. It fosters collaboration and creativity and allows students to think critically with the freedom to explore different solutions to problems. Animoto is a video creation tool. And you can get a free educator's account and give your students free accounts that are linked to yours. So what other tools have you used in the classroom that put students in the role of digital content creators?
Probably the only thing that I've used would be the CMAP, the concept mapping tool
Uh-huh.
for my online, those Earth System Science classes.
Okay.
And it's a free download for Windows, Mac, or tablets.
Mm-hmm.
And if you search CMAP tools,
Cool.
it'll come up.
That sounds like it's an interesting one. What else? Anything you've used, Scott?
I haven't. No.
Okay.
Not that I can recall off the top of my head at the moment.
Okay. So there's just some ideas.
I've used Google SketchUp with students before, but nothing different than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've encouraged my students to use, especially when they're working on Teams, Google Docs, and things like that. But that's the extent of it. And they've used Skype and Hangouts on this year as well.
Okay. And then some other 21st century tools you might use to allow students to become global collaborators. So these tools include blog and wiki sites such as Google's Blogger and Google Sites, social bookmarking tools, sharing tools like Pinterest, Reddit, and others, webcasting tools like Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Google Hangouts, social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter, meeting tools like Zoom, Skype, Hangouts, photo sharing sites like Instagram and Flickr. What about you guys? What other tools have you used in the classroom that foster collaboration among your students or allow them to share content on a global scale?
GoToMeeting.
Okay.
But that's kind of antiquated now with Zoom. I used that several years ago, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
In anatomy, anatomy physiology, I have an
Easy
Instagram thing that they can upload photos from lab to.
Great. Remind me. I'll share with you. I just found a free tool you can use to embed the students' Instagram posts as long as they share it with a specific hashtag. You can share those in Blackboard.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. So not all of the tools I mentioned have been vetted by IT. So the list I've got on the screen right now shows the tools we've already reviewed. These are either freely available or they involve an out-of-pocket cost as shown by the $sign. If you're not interested, or if you are interested in using a tool that's not included on the list, contact IT support. There's actually a form you can fill out to request software, and that way IT can review it. It's a little tricky, but it usually just takes a few weeks and we can typically get it on the list. All right, so what are some ways you can incorporate the tools into your instruction? If your students are expected to read a book, consider having them create a book trailer rather than a written book report. You could have them create a poster advertising the book or retell the story using a modern setting and characters. Have the students work together in groups or as a whole class to design a manual or how-to guide or a list of resources related to a topic in the class. That's a great way to use blogs, wikis, or social bookmarking. Have students design their own web quest related to a topic, and then have their peers take the quest and provide feedback. Give the students a messy problem case studies and problem-based learning. David, you know all about this. You give them a messy problem with not one real clear solution, whether that's a real problem or something you made up, and relate it to your topic and present them with a case to solve. Have them collaborate in teams to research issues and find possible solutions to a problem. Students can reach out to experts, meet with them virtually, design their own blogs, podcasts, or webcasts to discuss the topic. Each team can present their results at the end of the project. They can build digital models of things for many of these types of projects. Think about using modeling for historical recreations, book settings, technical designs, cell models, chemical structures, you name it. Ask students to develop an electronic portfolio containing their work, complete with reflections on how they have grown during the course. I feel like I'm really preaching to the choir there, David. I know you do a lot of these things. All right, so let's take the next 30 minutes and let's consider your specific discipline, a specific course that you teach, and a project that you can think of. So thinking about your learning objectives, which of these projects would lend itself to your stated learning objectives? What tools would you be interested in having the students use to create the projects? Let's think about what the end product would be for the project. Would they make a video, a blog, working alone or collaboratively? And then think about how you would evaluate the project. How would you determine if your students met those learning objectives? So I'll be here. You two can talk among yourselves and ask me, and let's see if you can come up with some ideas.
In the fall, I've already been told that they're going to request that I teach the entrepreneurship course, and it's a service learning course. So the students will be basically, I'm going to be, they're developing a relationship with a firm or some entity here in town, and we'll be doing basically solving one of their problems
Okay.
on an entrepreneurial level. I could see where the portfolio, the tracking between the blogs, identifying experts, maybe talking with them, making videos, all of that could play a huge role in this. And usually in an entrepreneurship class, one of the things that happens is you write a business plan. Well, and then you present it.
Right.
Kind of like a Shark Tank situation.
Right.
And I can see where this would be extraordinarily helpful in that situation. I don't know whether I'm teaching that face-to-face or online. And I understand that they were experimenting with it some already this semester.
So you can create a site at Google Sites. Each of the students already has a Google account because our ACE mail is through Google.
Okay.
So they can log into their Google account through ACE mail, and then they can go to sites.google.com, or it's also listed as one of the apps on the.
Yeah, more.
There it is. So you can find it. It's way down there on the page now, but here's all products, and then it's right there. Anyway, so they can go to sites. I think I'll actually click that and go back to it. And it's as easy as clicking the plus button to start a new site. And they've really simplified this so that it's much more intuitive and easy for students to design. So once they get in here, they start at a home page. And you can choose different kinds of headers. So you can choose a cover page, a large banner, a regular banner, or just the title. And then once you've picked out your style, you can also choose a theme. And so this theme, we can just recolor it, or we could choose a different theme. And so you can see how students would be able to use these to create something that really reflects their personality.
Cool.
And once they've picked a theme, they can insert stuff on each page, and there's layouts that they can add if they wanted to, for example, have this be a large thing and right below it they wanted to have 3 little text boxes with pictures. It's really easy to do that with a layout. And then they just click this to add content. And click this to edit the text. And then they can add new pages, as simple as going to the pages and clicking the plus button and then giving the page a name. And now you see how it's updated the menu across the top.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's very, 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 very easy. When students are done, they can just share this with the, with the class, with other people. And this is actually in their Google Drive when they're done with it. So, what's lovely is that they can link to documents. So if I wanted to insert a document from Drive, I just go right here, and let's say that I wanted to insert my dissertation. Well, we'll go back here and we will just do that, which I think is, yeah, that's one of the handbooks I use. But anyway, there it is right there.
Okay.
And it's actually students can, or people who visit this site can actually just click it and go right to the document and read it. Okay, so it's that easy. You can go back and you can add embedded things. So if you wanted to embed a YouTube video, you just put the URL right here. So if I went to YouTube and found a particular video like this one, and I grab the share.
Meet Mr. Parker Harris.
All right, share, copy, and paste the URL right there, and insert, and there it is. And I can just move things around on the page so that they fit where I want them.
It is a lot better than it used to be.
Oh yeah, it's really easy. And then the video is embedded right there. They can do images, they can do text boxes, they can do a table of contents, they can do an image carousel, buttons, dividers, YouTube right there actually. They can embed maps, docs, sheets, forms, charts, slides. It's very, very, very easy to build. So this might be one that you might want to consider.
Okay.
When you're doing that project with the entrepreneurship, because it would be very easy for them to create their entire portfolio of everything that they do for this class, and then that can actually be the final project that they turn in, is the link to this site.
I like this.
Okay, and
and this is set up so if I have a team of 3, each individual
they could work together. They can work.
Okay.
When you share,
Okay.
you can actually choose whether the people that you're sharing can just view it, or if they're right, if they're allowed to work on it. So when you choose somebody to work on it, you just state whether they're editing or just viewing.
In that respect, it's like Dropbox, where you can have folders within. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you can work, this works very well with a collaborative effort, and especially if they've got a shared drive on Google Drive, where, a shared folder on Google Drive where they can all deposit documents related to it. I strongly recommend Google as a good way to do this.
I agree.
Okay. And what I would do is I would define the parameters of what the finished portfolio should look like. That you want them to have pages for their business plan, their presentation, whatever it is that they're going to do as part of this project, that they should have a page for each one. So I wouldn't give them a template or anything like that. I would just tell them your finished portfolio should have the following pages, and then let them fill it in.
Okay. The way I would probably do it, I'd want the finished project is the business plan.
Right.
However, I would like to see a portfolio of their ongoing work of what they did, who contributed what, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And that, in other words, that's two sites, what we're talking about here. This site, this business plan site, is one we would probably share with the, for all intents and purposes, client that we're dealing with.
Right.
And I would want, and that can be done. I can see that here, no problem. So there would be one for me, and then the finished cut, which would just be a portion of their larger portfolio for the business client.
Right.
Okay.
This would be your evaluation, your means of evaluating their work in the class,
Right.
which the business plan is only a small portion of.
Right.
Right.
Just a thought there, Scott. The Google Docs and slides and whatever else, forms, all that stuff. They could share those, so you could have them create the plan in, say, Google Docs.
Right.
And
And then just share the business plan with the team, with the business that they're working with.
Right. Well, we might as well just call them a client, because what we're providing is with the service learning, the way this entrepreneurship class is set up, we're being consultants. That's what we're doing. So that's all there is to it. So might as well call them a client.
Yep. And then I strongly recommend that you create a rubric for evaluating the site, just so that you know that your learning objectives have been met.
The other course Brian told me that he's going to ask me to teach in the fall is the facilities and event planning course, which is part of the sports management. I'm trying to think. I have a friend. Frankly, I've known her since kindergarten. She is an event coordinator for Dallas Fair Park. In other words, she scheduled the Rolling Stones for the Cotton Bowl this coming up in May.
Cool.
And that's the sort of thing I'm trying to think of ways where we can. I'm going to get people like her to speak to the course somehow, some way, and I'm thinking about how we could do a project in that course, and maybe base it on something or maybe the rodeo arena or the fairgrounds here in Texarkana or something.
Yeah. You can also take advantage of the fact that you've got that friend who's in that position, and maybe arrange for her to speak
right
through Zoom to your students that way.
That's at the very least I'd like to do, but we'll see what happens. That'd be very interesting.
Mm-hmm. David, how about you? Did you think of anything while we were going through this that you could do? I know you already do a lot of this stuff in your courses.
Please share.
You want to share?
I was just thinking that, I don't know that, what was that one? Powtoon?
Powtoon, have you ever seen that? Let me bring that up so you can see it. So it's free to sign up. There are some paid accounts. You can get paid accounts, but I have never found that the free account wasn't everything I needed.
I've seen this. This would be awesome.
So you can choose a marketing, like here's a marketing video, and they've got lots of them, but so you pick one that you like. Let's say that one. And then it basically guides you through creating the video. You can add more pages to the one you've got, but it basically guides you to creating the video. So you can choose your format based on how you're marketing this. You can add text. You can, there's animations. and style, styles. And so let's say I chose this. Um, you see what I added there? You see the roller go across the page?
Yes,
Yeah,
transition.
yeah. And I think you can, yeah, so there's different, you'll see, you can preview it to see how it will look. But you can add all those different transitions, and so you can really create a cool marketing video. And if you don't like this page, they've got different media here. You can add your own, or you can choose different medias here.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That would work really good.
Right, for your marketing class.
Well, I'm not teaching marketing anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching all management courses. But yeah,
But you can do this with a template, or you can create your own blank one. And so um, these are ones that you guys can use as a teacher. Here's a way to present your syllabus, class goals, quick facts,
cool.
teacher introduction video. But so like, let's say, David, that you were thinking about having students explain something related to your biology class, or
Mm-hmm.
you wanted them to explain it. So, and also you see this works good for product explanation, Scott.
Right. Crowdfunding, that's part of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But you can find an
Wow.
explainer video. Let's look at this one. Oh, here's the traditional whiteboard explainer. I love this. You've seen those before, right?
Yes. I think I've seen this. This is cool. I didn't know where this stuff came from, though. Now I know.
Yep. And so here's a video that's designed um, for explaining things. And again, you can swap your backgrounds, you can change your settings, you can add text, you can add, um, you know, all kinds of fun stuff.
You can
Right,
probably change the duration of things. And,
right,
okay.
right. And then you can add your animations and your effects, and your transitions and all of that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, something like that to explain some process or whatever.
Yeah. And so they might really enjoy this, and it's going to create a very professional looking product, and then they can share that with the class.
I don't remember which tool I use for this offhand, but about every other year we have to do the core curriculum assessment in some of the lower level classes.
Mm-hmm.
Probably doesn't apply to you, Scott, but part of this, the way I do it is I have them create an infographic, and there are free programs that you can use to do that. And in Blackboard on uh, the Who Knew It thing, there's a little uh, video series that shows you how to make infographics.
Adobe
Spark,
Spark.
they do that? Okay.
Adobe Spark is a great way to do projects like infographics and stuff. So you can just go in here and you can click on create a project. And if you just wanted to do an infographic, you could just do it as either a flyer or a web page. So I'll just go to a flyer. And then you can remove the Adobe Spark logo if you want, but then you've got templates. So
Well, cool.
yeah, I guess this little shield tells you it's premium. Anyway, so you can create that. Once you've got your background, so that's your templates, then you can go into your design. And so you can choose different variations of how you want it to look. So let's say that I want this to be,
with that set of colors. Okay.
right, or I can choose something more like that. Or I can choose something more like that. You see, it's the same each time. It's just that it's changing the way it's formatted. It's changing the way it's oriented. Then once you choose that, then you can choose your color scheme. And so you can just go down here and say, oh, I like blue and purple, or go with that. You choose your color scheme, and you of course can shuffle within that particular color scheme. So you can go like this and say, no, not that. No, definitely not that. That's not bad. That's better. I like that one. And so you can choose the way you like it to look, but you can also go in and change specific colors.
Okay.
Okay. And then you can change your layout. So I could say I wanted to do that instead, or that instead. And of course, once you get it all figured out, then you can add specific content to it. So you can then turn around and you click here and you can add text, you can add photos, you can add icons, you can add logos, or edit any of the ones that are already there. When you go here, you can upload your own photos, or you can go and find free photos from all different kinds of websites. So it's finding the wrong cell, but you see that it's finding
Cell phone.
cell phones. Yes, it's finding phones. Yes, but it's finding photos that are stock. Anyway, and then you can also go to Adobe Stock, but some of these are licensed and it's not free. There we go. And then once you add it, you can, shape it, crop it. So you got that. But you can also add, text. Like I said, you can add icons and you can search for those. You can add logos. So lots of different things that you can do. The culmination of this training is that you need to design your own project. So you've got your, a lot of ideas to use to do that. So, just take the information that you've got, that you used from answering those questions, and, you can just pair up with each other and begin to develop a plan for one of your courses.
David, should we do one since your infographic tool has disappeared? Should we do one for your previous project using something that's available now?
Let me see. Okay. Just a second. Let me see what those other things were. I think that would be a
Canva, that's the one. That's the one that
yeah,
that Linda uses.
The Who Knew It has a lesson with Canva PictoChart. It's still got easily on there. So Canva might be a good one.
Yeah.
Actually, that might be a good way for you to just present an overview on that business plan thing.
Mm-hmm.
A quick way to just, obviously you got your document or whatever you want for that, but just for a quick overview.
Mm-hmm.
might be a great way to go. Now so I'll have to switch my recommended site. They don't all use it. I don't make them use any particular one. Some of them will use PowerPoint, for example,
Right.
and make one. But, you know, these things you just kind of drag and drop and whatnot. It's really, really good. So, yeah, I already have this. Already have the instructions. Actually, I borrowed that from Katie Stoddard when
Okay.
she was still here, because I couldn't think of anything creative to do for this
Right, right.
evaluation thing. That's only in 1,000 and 2,000 courses, Scott, so you probably don't have to mess with it.
Businesses, that KISS principle comes along. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and it's big. And frankly, when you're talking about a business plan, the business plan itself may be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 pages.
right.
But the presentation for it, the sales pitch for it, for the business idea, it's 3 minutes.
Yeah, so then some form of infographic would be good. If you just search infographics on Google or whatever,
Yeah.
and look at the images, you can see any number of things. Like there's thousands of them here. Yeah, just put that in and then get it to show you images.
There's Bengage, free. There's PictoChart. It's just ones I'm coming up with. Free online infographic maker by Canva is one that I've heard of before. Seems like I heard Vengage before too. Just looking at some of these.
That's your Cengage. That's your textbook, isn't it?
No, VENNGAGE.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with that one.
I've heard of it at some point. I don't think it's free though.
Okay. So Canva has a free and a paid version?
Yes.
Actually, this Vengage has a free one as well.
Okay.
But it's probably, there's probably some limitations of what is and what is not free.
Sure. But I found with the one that's defunct now that the free version was good enough for the students to make one. And like I said, some of them did it in PowerPoint. So
Right.
if you were wanting to demo or show the business plan on an infographic like this, what points would you want them to have on that thing?
Well, a business plan, number one, you be honest with you, it really depends on what the hell. I'm about to make this more complicated, but basically you're looking for the major pitch, number one. Number two, what's the major benefit here?
Okay.
That's other aspect that you absolutely have to get across. Third, on a business plan presentation, there has got to be some sort of aspect of how this is going to actually collect money,
Okay.
generate revenue, so on and so forth. And that needs to be explicit. I went to a entrepreneurship conference a year ago, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. And I was sitting there watching the students do their business pitches. And there was one student that was a nursing student. And he had the idea of when you're in surgery, or for instance, if you're a patient under cardiac arrest, and he's got this going and marketing has already made in the past year several $1 million, the syringes they use, um, where you have to flush out and then you got to put the medicine in. That's one syringe, and then for the flush out of the port or whatever it is, and then the medicine behind it. He came up with an idea to put them both in one syringe with a brake seal, so that when you press it down, the saline would come out the tip. First, it was tooth coated, and where was I going with this? And the value proposition there was incredible. When I was sitting there watching him do the presentation for the end, he was the first one up that day, and I told my students, we were in Chattanooga, we're going to the aquarium. They said, why? I said, that's the winner right there. The dentist that was there asking questions of him, I started adding up the deal. I started adding up how much savings it would be to a hospital. You know, those are X amount of dollars per this, that. It would cut that expense having to do with those syringes by at least a third, if not to half. If you say, okay, how many cardiac arrests they have a day, this and that, it winds up to be several, $1 million real quick. And depending on the size of the hospital, this and that, I said, the dentist was just asking this. But that was one of the more interesting ones that I've ever seen. And I said, let's just leave because he's won. And we got to the car. I said, Sharice, see on the website who they announced that they won. But the value proposition, time to market, who would this be? The audience, or who the product would be good for? How's money made off it? How's it distributed, et cetera, et cetera. Just different things like that. Multiple pages in a presentation in that respect.
Well, could
And then
you
there'd be
get that down to? Could you get that down to one infographic?
Well, it's looking at this Canva, looks like you can actually design presentations.
Yeah.
You see that? It's got business plan templates that are actually presentations, so it's multiple
Right.
graphical.
Yeah, well, that's multiple pages. I was just saying.
For an infographic, in the infograph, what you're trying to do with an infograph is just hit the highlights, the most important things. The value proposition,
right.
what's for and what it will benefit everybody. That's about it.
Right, and so you'd have one bullet point
up there. Just search infographics. There you
go. All right, so you'd want to do something sort of like this, where
you'd show a process there.
Right. So yeah.
There you go.
Probably that one would be good there. And then you could just have a little rubric telling what the criteria are and the levels.
Right.
Here's so you could do like a graphic, like show how much money they'd save, important little points like that.
Exactly.
Well, on the one I've used, we have a rubric sort of that grades the assessment product. So I use that rubric. And then I also have them score themselves. Since it got a group aspect, I have them score themselves on how well the group did.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a little rubric for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can do that real easily with like a Google form or even a Blackboard survey, where you just ask them in a survey type thing to name the other members of their group and give them a rating on a scale of whatever, 1 to 5 or 1 to whatever. And then those points that you're awarding to each of the two students get added to whatever the grade that they receive for the project is. So if they're active in their group and they get highly rated, they'll get more points than if they're not active in their group and get
Right.
poorly rated.
Right. So that would be a good project. It kind of parallels the one I have for anatomy and physiology. So that in anatomy and physiology, they're picking some disease usually. So they have to make an infographic. So for example, a student in the last year picked alcoholism because I think he probably had a family member that was alcoholic. So he did a lot of research and produced an infographic for that of his, well, in my assignment, there's an individual and a team portion. So he was really onto that. So he got his team to agree to do the same thing. And they, if I recall, they actually used PowerPoint for that.
Yeah, and PowerPoint is a great tool to use for that because PowerPoint also, bring this over. So you can choose a different size for your PowerPoints.
Right.
So if I go over here and I choose my slide size, I can actually choose a custom size.
Right.
So if I want, and then you can insert pictures, online pictures, shapes, icons, 3D models, smart art, which is lovely for if you're trying to have students teach, explain something. You can do cycles and processes and hierarchies and relationships and matrices and pyramids. So you can have all sorts of these different things that work just really great. And so let's say that you wanted to have them explain a process, and you could do that. And then once you've created it, you just put your text in. If you click this little arrow here, you actually can do the text like that and just keep adding more and more things to the list. And then you can change your colors. You can change the way it looks.
Okay.
So it's really powerful. It's really a powerful way to do things.
Answer me a question. Back there was a button that said forms. What the heck is that?
Where is it? Right here?
Right there. Yeah, what does that do?
So it's Microsoft Forms, which is like Google Forms.
Okay.
And so you can actually go in and you can create a form on Microsoft Forms. Honestly, I like Microsoft Forms. Some of the things you can do in Microsoft Forms, I like it even better than some of the things you can do on Google Forms. You can do quizzing on Google Forms, but you can do quizzing on Microsoft Forms that are much more powerful. And we should have access to that now because we have Office 365. But yeah, it's very powerful to do drawings and boxes and such using PowerPoint. And they can do charts. And I love this because here they actually build it right in here, right in PowerPoint. So let's say that they wanted to do a pie chart. They choose the way they want it to look and they say okay. And now it's going to pop up a table. And they actually just fill in the data that they want to show up in that pie chart. And when they say okay, when they've got it right the way they want it, but you can use PowerPoint to do that. Well, it's 1 o'clock, so the class is over. So hopefully this was useful.
Very much.
Thanks,
Okay.
Julia.
Makes me very dangerous.
Well, you only really want to try this and implement it for one class at a time, one project at a time.
Right.
You don't want to try to do too much. Try it, journal, and document how it went. and what went well and what went wrong, and take those notes and apply it to your next iteration.
Right.
And then once you've perfected it in one class, then you can carry that same idea or the same concepts over into another class for a different project. And the great thing about it is that you get known by me for sure as an expert in implementing that kind of technology like David has. And then you get called on to present whenever we have an opportunity to share with the whole community. Thanks, David. Thanks, Scott. Nice to see you both.